I'm Dr. Krista Clancy, and I oversee both the undergraduate and graduate programs in applied behavior analysis here at Wayne State University. So I am the person who helps to create and manage the curriculum and hire the instructors and coordinate the schedule. And then I also do a lot of work with the students. I help them, advise them with the program and make sure that it's a good fit. I do all the applications for the students and all the interviews for them. And then I also work really closely with the students to make sure that they get their field experience placements that go along with the program. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I work really closely with them because they need to be placed out in the community for both the graduate and the undergraduate programs.
My name is Sarah. I'm the program project assistant for the whole division of the Theoretical and Behavioral Foundations, which is where the Applied Behavior Analysis program is housed. I really help a lot of the faculty members and program coordinators make sure that their programs are running smoothly, including Dr. Clancy. So I help a lot with marketing, making sure students are enrolled for their classes. So I'm really here to help you out. If you have any questions about the program or just general questions about the division itself, I can either help answer those questions or point you in the right direction for somebody who can answer that for you. So during your application process, if anything comes up, you can reach out to me throughout the program. If you need course overrides, I work with our division secretary for those. Basically, any kind of random general question that you don't know where to go, you can come to me and I'll hopefully be able to help you out with that. So.
All right, so I'm just going to get us started by talking just a little bit about the program in general. So our Applied Behavior Analysis program, both programs actually lead to national certification as well as a Michigan State license in behavior analysis. Most of our students work in a helping field. They work as behavior analysts. However, some of our students get our degree in order to enhance something else. So sometimes they will work as a teacher in a school, but also have their certification, or they might work in another area. This is a little bit more common with our undergraduate degree. So often people will get an undergraduate degree in applied behavior analysis, and then they may go on to do something that's related, but kind of use it to enhance whatever it is that they're doing. But I would say most of the people do work in the field. We have been working mostly in clinics. Some of our students have been working in schools. Basically, the role of a behavior analyst is to give individual assessment to children and young adults. Most insurances that cover applied behavior analysis will service people up to the age of either 18 or 21, unless you're working in another area. Some of our most of our folks work with people with autism or special needs. Sometimes they work with individuals with TBI, traumatic brain injury, and every once in a while there are people that kind of get placed in some other areas. But the role of a behavior analyst is to make sure that they properly assess the individual so that they can provide a plan and implement that plan. We work a lot with other people in the field. So often we do some direct work with the client, but often we're working with other people. We're either collaborating with teachers or paraprofessionals or people who we call behavior technicians in the field, and we teach them how to implement the things that we are setting up. So as I said, you do a lot of work with people with autism. When we're working with those individuals, you're really focusing on, initially in our foundations coursework, we're focusing on understanding behavior, how behavior changes, why it occurs. And then we do have a lot of specific assessments and intervention strategies that you would be learning within the program. There is a lot of focus on research as well. Most of our students don't go on to be researchers, but in the field, when you're developing an individualized plan and you're collecting data and you're assessing the outcomes of those plans, you definitely have to make sure that you are able to conduct at least single design type research. So we do a lot of that. Behavior analysts really come out having really strong problem solving skills. So like I said, it is a great stepping stone if you're looking to go into something else, but behavior analysis really trains you to look at a problem, assess the situation, identify a solution to that problem, and then determine whether or not the outcome from that solution was advantageous, and then kind of repeats the process. One of the other things that you really gain in our program in particular is a lot of communication skills. People who work in the field in applied behavior analysis, they have to work very intimately with people and with their families. So we have a lot of communication with those folks, as well as needing to work collaboratively with people in all different fields, whether it's medical field, speech and language, OT, school, PT, all these different areas. We really need to coordinate care kind of on a global scale. So you get a lot of work on really how do you communicate, and how do you communicate differently with different people. As I said, the career path that you're looking for, or that you're getting yourself into if you're going into this, most often is going to be working as a certified and or licensed behavior analyst in the state. Different states have different licensure requirements. So the National Certification Board is the credential that you need across the United States. But then there are additional license requirements in some of the states at this point. As I said, some people are going to work in an educational setting, and there are some roles popping up for BCBAs and BCABAs in public schools. So we do have a couple of people that have gone through our program that have done their field experience there. But one thing to be aware of is if you're going to try to train in that environment, there needs to be a person there who can provide you with direct supervision for your field experience, because that's one of the requirements from the BACB, which is our National Certification Board. So that sometimes can be challenging for folks because schools don't always have BCBAs that can provide supervision. Also, people tend to go into higher education. So becoming somebody like me or an instructor within a program, you obviously need to have your BCBA in order to do those things. Other areas, sometimes you get people in the medical field looking at personal health, wellness, like making sure that people are compliant with things, sometimes substance abuse, life coaching is on here, organizational behavioral management. There are a lot of people that do kind of get interested in the field of business and organizing businesses and consulting with them. So as I said, those are a little bit less frequent, but there are definitely opportunities in all of those areas, and there are behavior analysts working with a variety of different people. It's just really kind of trying to find your niche. All right, so we'll start by just kind of focusing on our undergraduate program to give you some background information on that, and then we'll talk a little bit about our graduate level program. Our undergraduate program is a 3-semester sequence. So basically, for students that are interested, all of our applications are due in March. And then students who apply in March would then start their program in the spring-summer semester. Our program runs spring, summer, fall, and winter. You can take this anytime during your degree. We often recommend that people take it either in their junior or senior year, because you do have to take a national exam, and if there's too many years in between, then that can be challenging for people to do that, because you have to, in order to sit for your exam, you have to have your degree, you have to finish all your coursework, and then you have to complete your field experience. We do have a few people that are working in the field, and they come to us and they say, you know, we really want to take the program early. We think it's going to be very beneficial to our performance and our job. And in those cases, we do sometimes let people in as a sophomore or a freshman. Very rarely as a freshman, people would apply for that, because you would actually have to apply the year before. But kind of completing the end of their freshman year, that does sometimes happen. But each one of our semesters during the course sequence involves a core content course, which is a 4-credit course, and that's really a lecture-based course, and then a field experience course. And although this is also run a bit like a lecture course, it's a lecture/discussion course where there's often some hands-on activities like data collection and behavioral skills training. So what that means is kind of practicing the activities that you're doing. For our field experience requirement, as I said, you need your course content, and then you also need your field experience. All of our students get placed out in the community. Typically, our students get paid for at least a portion of those hours. There are some requirements by the board that you have to meet in order to sit for your exam. And there are a couple of choices. We tend to kind of work directly with the students to help them choose what those are. But there is a minimum of 20 hours that the students have to do for their requirements per week. They need to have a total of either 1,300 or 1,000 completed supervised hours before they sit for their exam. The difference between those two is how much supervision is required. So for the 1,300 hour, you don't have to do as much supervision, but for the 1,000 hours, you have to do 10% of that has to be supervised. So a lot of times that's a negotiation that our students will have out in the field with their supervisors. There's some contact requirements, like your supervisor has to be able to observe you live at least a certain amount of time. And there are requirements on the type of supervision that you need to have, group versus individual, as well as how you're spending your time. So there are some things that are restricted and some things that are unrestricted for certain percentages of time. Typically, the people start off by learning to be what we call a behavior technician, which is a lot of one-on-one work with children, and that would be a restricted activity. The unrestricted activities are things that have to do more with assessment, behavior planning, assessment, training other people. So those are higher level things. And the board really wants to make sure that all of the students who go through these programs get all of those experiences, which is why there are some restrictions on the field experience. So as I said, you're doing the course content. You're also collecting your hours, and then at the end you have to have completed all of those requirements plus to get your degree, and then you would apply to sit for an exam that is a national exam. So these are our courses that are required for our BC ABA program. Like I said, each one of these courses is 4 credits for the main content. So we have our introductory or our foundation class. We have actually started to have this class not as part of the BC ABA program, but for people who want to try it out. We've been offering this in the winter. The second mandatory course is a techniques in applied behavior analysis, which includes just kind of some of our foundational strategies that we use. And then also our final class is applied behavior analysis, assessment, and treatment, which includes a lot of our assessment tools, the treatment strategies and planning. So there's goal writing, some of that research methods pieces, those are all embedded into those classes as well. And then these are our field experience classes. The activities that are embedded into these classes kind of mimic what you're learning in each one of those core content courses. So we take these classes back to back. These are always offered on Thursday. Right now, everything is online. We do online synchronous. So these are things where you have to actually be present every day during the class period. But when we have in the past offered these on campus, we've actually offered them at our offsite campus, which is in Farmington. So that is something to kind of think about if we do go back to classroom experiences where we have live classroom meetings. That might be something that would be available in the future. But we hold these classes back to back on Thursday. So like in the spring, you would take 3101 in the morning, and then in the afternoon, you would take 3104. And then the next 2 semesters would look just like that. So this is your schedule, just like I said, the 3 consecutive semesters and the courses that you would need to take for each one of those.
So for the application for undergraduate, there's a form to fill out. We do require your transcripts get sent. We do also require letters of recommendation. So if that's something you want to apply for, Yes, March 1st is going to be the deadline for those applications. And we do hold in-person interviews for those as well. So after the review process for the applications, we would reach out to you, send an invite for an interview if we want to move forward. So if you do have any questions about how that works, you can reach out to me. So like I said, if anything comes up, feel free to reach out and we'll get that fixed for you.
All right, so we will go ahead and talk just briefly about our graduate program. So very similarly to what I've already discussed, this program trains you to be a behavior analyst. You get your BCBA credential and you also get your license in applied behavior analysis. So I won't take any further time to really talk about that because I think that those things are really similar. The only thing that I will mention is that our program is not a course sequence at the graduate level. It is actually a master's in applied behavior analysis. So we still have a lot of we still basically have most of our courses have content in applied behavior analysis, and they are fully approved by the BACB, which is the Behavior Analytics Certification Board. But we do actually have 3 courses that you would take in the Ed Psych program. So those are really complementary in like child and adolescent psychiatry and things like that that can be really helpful for students who are going into this field. So this program starts in the fall, and it's set up really similarly where you for the most part take your classes, and you also have your field experience classes that go along with. All of the classes are also on Thursday for this program. They are for the most part daytime classes. Some of the Ed Psych classes are offered in the evening. And basically you're taking 2 to 3 courses a semester. For our fall and winter semesters, there's usually 3 courses, and for our spring semester, you'll get 2 courses. Those courses are made up of your ABA course content as well as your Ed Psych course content. So the classes that we offer for this program, these are our traditional Ed Psych classes. So we have the child psychology, the adolescent and child psychopathology, and the evaluation and measurement classes. So basically this gives you a background in child issues that might be related to the kinds of things that you might be working with. And then also the evaluation and measurement class gives you a little bit on statistics and understanding testing and things like that, which again is also very complementary to the ABA type activities that you'll be learning. So our traditional courses in applied behavior analysis, very similarly, they kind of mimic what I had talked about in the BC ABA program, but they expand a lot on applied behavior analysis. So we have our foundations class, we have our assessment class, we have a treatment planning class. We also have an advanced treatment planning class, or advanced strategies in applied behavior analysis. We have a research methods class, and then we also have a class in ethics in applied behavior analysis. So this also meets all the requirements that we would need in order for you to sit for your exam. We do this in 5 semesters. These are all of our field experience classes as well. So each semester, and I'll show you in just a second on one of the slides, each semester you'll have your course content and your field experience. So again, you're going to be working out in the field. You're going to do about 20 hours a week doing whatever your activity is in your field experience. You'll work at a local organization, working directly with clients the entire time that you're in our program. And there's a lot of crossover between what you're doing in the field and what you're doing in the classroom. We actually, I didn't mention this for our BC ABA program, but there's actually graded requirements that you have to complete out in the community with your field site supervisor, and then bring those back into us for a grade so that we can really have a lot of crossover between those. So each of these has a I guess a theme of what we're going to be discussing and talking about in the classroom. And then there are also sets of performance activities that the students have to complete during each one of these field experience courses. All right, so this is our overview. So as I said, we start in the fall. Students have 9 credits in the first semester, and then 10, and there's some variation on this between 6 and 10 credits. But as I said, you're either taking 2 or 3 classes depending on what semester you're in. This is just like the BACB. or just like the BC ABA, this is a cohort model. So this is a non-negotiable schedule. So all of the students have to take the classes when they're offered and they stay within their cohort. Both of our programs, I would say this is a very good model. Our students really enjoy the cohort model. They get a lot of support from their fellow students. And we also have a student ABA group, which they have a mission to help students that are incoming and partner up for mentorship so students can be successful in the program, as well as some other volunteer and other extracurricular kinds of activities for students. So we try to really offer a well-supported program, and the cohort model really helps with that. So just like with the undergraduate program, we have requirements for the BCBA to get field experience hours. As you notice, the hours are more. So it's good to kind of think about how many hours you have to get going into the program. You do have 5 semesters instead of 3 semesters to complete this program, but we're looking at between 1,500 and 2,000 hours for completion of your program, depending on how much supervision you're going to get from your supervisor out in the field. And there are requirements, just like we talked about with the BC ABA, for how many hours you can collect, how much supervision you need, how many observations, and how much time need to be engaged in higher level unrestricted activities. For this particular program, you have to spend more time. 60% of your time has to be doing things that are more involved with assessment, treatment, making sure that you're training other people, those types of things, rather than doing more direct one-on-one work.
For the graduate program, you will be applying through the graduate school. So it's an online application. It's going to have all the instructions listed in that application for you. There is a program area application as well. Official transcripts, letters of recommendation, pretty much all the standard. I believe there's a written personal statement. There is a checklist on the application to help you through. So yeah, pretty much the same, as well as an interview process.
Yep, and same thing as we had talked about before, applications are due at the beginning of March, and obviously you can turn those things in early, but we do hold off on reviewing them and scheduling interviews until after the deadlines have been reached, because we want to take a look at all of those applications before we invite folks for an interview.